Hi everyone, Pastor Shari here. I am so excited to be doing this video with you because this means that communion is coming up. I love communion, and this last communion that we had where we had communion in home with our families, it was such an amazing experience. I baked bread and I thought it would be a cool idea to just do a how-to video on how you guys can bake your own unleavened bread for a communion service that's coming up. So we're going to start with the ingredients that you need are 2 cups and 2 tablespoons of flour. You're also going to need a half a teaspoon of salt, and you're going to need 1 cup of cold water. Now, I don't know about you, but these days have been so hot that I needed to put ice in my water to kind of get it to be a little colder than room temperature. So if you need to do that, go ahead and do that. What I've done here is I've put the 2 cups and 2 tablespoons of flour, and this is traditional flour, all-purpose flour. And now I'm gonna combine it, put the salt in. So hot, the salt don't wanna go. All right, and I'm just gonna mix those up. And then the next step is simply adding the water ever so slowly while you mix until the dough begins to come together. And this recipe, I was so attracted to it because it's so easy. Now, when I baked at home, I did a gluten-free recipe. So if you are gluten-free and you are interested in that recipe, don't hesitate to email me at pastorshariloveday@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to pass the gluten-free unleavened bread recipe on to you. So I've put my flour in slowly while I mixed, and it is starting to come together. And guys, honestly, that's it for the prep of this recipe. Once the dough starts coming together, you'll knead it for 5 minutes. And so I'm going to bring the dough together, and then I'll come back and show you the last 2 steps in our process. Okay, so now we've got our dough all pulled together, and I will admit to you that I did need to add a little bit more flour on my dough because it was a little stickier than I needed it to be. But then once you get it together and it's to a good consistency where you know it's not going to stick to your rolling pin and just kind of fall all apart, you're going to pull off and pinch 7 circles, 7 little rounds of them, and you're going to make them into a round little ball. And then you're going to go ahead and use some parchment paper or some place that you know is kind of non-stick. And you want to make sure that you go ahead and flour your rolling pin so that it won't stick as you're rolling it out. And so you're just going to roll each way because you're trying to get, like, you know, a little round. I've made this one a bit small because the skillet that I'm going to be frying it on is smaller. And so I didn't want it to take up the whole thing. So this is a really, really small one, but as you can see, I have some bigger rounds here that I'll be using next. But I just wanted to start with this, and as you can see, it is sticking just a little bit to my parchment, but I'll be able to get it up. And then once I do that, I'm gonna get it into a skillet. That's the other thing that I like about this recipe. In this time where it is so very, very hot, I love that I do not have to use an oven today at all. So you can go ahead and cook this on a skillet. I'm gonna roll this out a little more, just a little bit. It is starting to stick a bit, but I do want it a little flatter. So I'm just going to flour it just a little on top so it won't stick. And then I'll roll it out a little more. Now, I want you guys to know I decided to use this recipe. I am not a baker. I'm not super good at baking, but I really wanted to try to go ahead and make this unleavened bread because I wanted to get a bit of the experience on how it was like for Israelites in Passover, kind of creating and making this meal in preparation to leave. So I'm gonna let this be on the skillet 2 minutes on each side, and I'll be right back to show you how it turns out. I have finished, and as you can see, it's still a little hot, but I did let it cool. But as you can see, it has a little brown around the edge, and it's super terrible and it's super yummy and ready to go. I wish I could take a bite of it to show you how yummy it is, but I'm gluten free. So I just want you guys to know it's not so hard. You can go ahead and bake yourself some unleavened bread for communion coming up. If you're not able to do that, you can make arrangements to pick up a packet at the church that will have your unleavened bread as well as your grape juice in it. But I thought this would be a nice activity for families to go ahead and try. Enjoy communion with your family, enjoy baking with your family, and have a great week, everyone.